Hello and welcome back to Streamer Consciousness, a podcast designed to talk about a person's thoughts and conscious reactions to events perceived as a continuous flow. My name is Gideon. I go by Giddawid on all social media, and this will be episode 5 of the podcast that you're about to listen to. But in fact, it is technically episode 4.5, as this is the second half of the podcast that I did with Daithi De Nogla last week. So I would like to make sure that you, if you haven't taken the opportunity to go and watch the first part, it is available, episode 4, and this will be episode 5. So please enjoy as he discusses more in depth, not only about his experiences when it comes to streaming, but talks a lot more about the in-depth look at what it takes to become successful. So absolutely enjoy the podcast. I'll leave us to it, and thank you so much for all the support on the podcast so far. It's been really wonderful, and I'm going to look into more ways of making sure that I can give back to you guys as well for all the support. So thank you, and let's get right into it. So I've talked about lockdown. What is the best piece of advice you were ever given by another content creator? Was there ever a moment where something poignant happened and it just rang true with you in that instant?
I would say there's a guy, Mr. Waffles, cool guy. But very early on in my YouTube, it was ninja content, comedy content. Ninja content really was kind of what I was focused on, getting cool ninja diffusers in Modern Warfare 3 and just getting music, making it into a dope video, putting it out there and hoping loads of people watch and enjoy it. But I remember the first video I ever put like a ton of work into. I think it might have been like 20 hours or something like that, because I was learning a lot. And I showed it to him, and he just said it was just dog shit. He just straight up said it was dog shit. And I'm like, I thought I was showing him something epic, and he thought he'd think it'd be really cool, and he congratulated me. And the first word is first essential word was like, this is dog shit. And it was probably the best thing I was told, because I was like, man, I really do have the rose tinted glasses on in terms of what I make. Like, I am just taking a shit and smelling it and thinking, oh yeah, just wafting, oh yeah, wasn't this brilliant what I just made there? And someone else coming in to smell it, and they're like, oh, what? And it's like, just that complete contrast made me realize, yeah, I'm deluded. Once I realized I was deluded, I could start working on reality.
That was the freedom you needed.
It broke the chains of illusion. so yeah, some people, they'd link me their channel, or they'd ask for advice on something like that. A recent guy played Among Us with him as well, and he just had a question for me, and he wanted to ask me. I goes, look, fine, I'll follow you. And I followed him. He DM'd me asking for advice on his channel, and I was like, okay, well, I could say a few things, but I'm pretty invested time-wise already. So I'll have my brother, who's pretty smart. He helps me out with a lot of stuff, kind of jack of all trades.
Is that the one who's been on the channel as Nogla as well?
Yes, that's him, Rogla. He's my jack of all trades. And essentially, I had him break down each channel and give a lot of advice. And yeah, it was he seemed happy about it. But you definitely need to have like an open mind when it comes to development. If you're a very closed-minded person, you'll never really develop far. Or at least what you gained won't be very favored in your way in terms of how you enjoy it. I notice a lot of people, they have a lot of subs, they have a lot of money, but they have very little enjoyment, and you kind of ask yourself, well, what was the point?
Yeah. You mentioned before about the fact that you stream under contract. You said about hitting a certain number of hours a month, which is ultimately most, if not all streamers' dream goal. I think, is to get to the point where you can stream what you like
contract,
and just have the contract of you will make this much money if you do this many hours.
Yeah, no, I could definitely see that being it was big for me as well. I was pretty stoked about it and surprised.
So when it comes to that, do you feel like streaming, if you, because obviously I don't know, we're not going to talk about how long you're locked into the contract necessarily, but
yeah, there's an NDA.
Yeah. So, I'm gonna skirt right past that. But in terms of when it comes to other streaming sites, for example, is there ever a part of you that wonders, would I have more success being able to branch out to these other audiences? You look at people like Dr. Disrespect, for example, who was on
went from Twitch
to YouTube, and you had Ninja and Mixer. You know, like, is there ever a part of you that wonders, like, how would this fare up? How would I fare up at doing that?
I think for me, I'm very like happy where I'm at. And content wise, I'm content. Mainly because my circle is very YouTube orientated as well. And there's definitely differences in mindsets between Twitch and YouTubers in terms of the creation of content. Since YouTube is a lot more VOD dedicated, and streamers are more like live dedicated entertainment. That does bring a different orientation in terms of how you even perceive it. So for me, I'll start recording with the boys. We'll have our chat, we'll shoot the breeze and stuff like that before recording, and then boom, you start recording, and there's a little bit of jump in energy, there's a little bit of a pickup in energy and enthusiasm, and it's streamers I always feel are at the level before that. I feel like streamers are at the level I'm at with my friends when we're not recording. That's what
really interesting.
And then YouTubers recording VOD stuff, they pick things up a notch, and I feel it's not as sustainable because it's such like an intensive form of entertainment where you're constantly being ready for something, or you're kind of making the content happen. Really. And I would say people that have incorporated that style of thinking into their streaming have been the most successful streamers. I think those people have been the most successful. Like Dr. Disrespect, he's not just playing a game and whatever happens in the game he's interacting with. He's making the content.
Yes.
He's truly making the content and giving the experience to people. Some streamers, I feel like they're very much
playing the game,
going through the motions. They're very much going through the motions of things. And if something good happens, it happens. If it doesn't happen, it doesn't happen. And I find that the streamers that make something happen, that go out there with charisma and the confidence to pull it off, whether they believe it or not, they're putting it out there. Like Dr. Disrespect, another guy that I would say, Milton. He's called Smeg the Sorcerer on our Minecraft Purge server, and like he put himself out there to do that, to bring something unique, and had the talents and qualities to follow through in it and complete that. And so that didn't happen without preparedness. And I think a lot of streamers, there is an element of preparing for a stream, but for some people, and not most, it's really just tap a button and start streaming and boom, stop streaming, and that's it. A lot of streamers' preparedness comes, make sure I have my emojis and my alerts working and all that jazz. There's very little done with the persona that the streamer is putting out there, and very little done with how the game allows for potential interaction. Like for instance, I was doing some stuff recently, my Pokemon Nuzlocke, where I'd like, or if a Pokemon died, I would like make the screen. No, well,
I'm just talking about. So there will be some people out there that won't know what a Nuzlocke is.
Yeah. So a Pokemon Nuzlocke is basically and it's a randomizer as well, but that doesn't really matter. But to explain the Nuzlocke, you're only allowed to catch the first Pokemon in each route as you play through the game. And if your Pokemon faints, you have to release them into the wild or just put them into the box. You can't use them anymore. So basically, I had a few Pokemon died, and what I did is I found some royalty-free sad music on YouTube, and I started turning everything black and white, or you know, on my screen. So my webcam turned black and white. Everything just turned black and white, and you know, you just play into the, you know, my Pokemon died and stuff like that. And you do a bit of you know, a bit of role play, a bit of Shakespearean drama, you know, add a bit of spice. So I think a lot of streamers, they don't really do that. There's very it's like a lot of streamers, I compare them to unseasoned chicken. Whether as a YouTuber's VOD, if it's a good VOD and it's well edited, is like a proper Sunday roast.
I see. It was really interesting when you brought it up, because at first I had to get it.
I think there's a little, yeah, I'll talk about it. Go on anyway.
Well, there's, firstly, I wanted to have an aversion to what you were saying to some degree, because obviously I know a lot of people who stream and give that 110% every single stream. But then I thought about what you said, and there are definitely those moments where even when I'm on stream, obviously there's this, you've got to have stamina, you've got to have endurance. You don't want to burn yourself out. Especially if you're streaming for, let's say you stream for 8 hours. Yeah, exactly.
Well, I feel 8 hours is too much. It's too much. You're better off doing 2 blocks of 4. You're
having your long stream. You're almost preparing yourself for that inevitable moment of clarity where you have that content happen, and it's almost like people are waiting for the content to happen. Whereas having a shorter stream where you are engaging, knowing that you're creating content, the amount of not only energy you get out of it, but the amount of enjoyment that you might get and the other people watching might get from that shorter but sweeter stream can arguably do more for you as a content creator than it can just existing for those 8 hours, even if you're giving what feels like 110%.
Yeah, because you are putting effort in, but it's not the right way, and you kind of have to ask yourself. I think a lot of streamers, I think there's a little bit of like jealousy from like streamers to YouTubers. In a way, I've noticed a little bit of jealousy. Just, it's hard to explain it, but there's a little bit of streamer to VOD kind of like animosity between Twitch and YouTube. Among Us has kind of like dissolved that a lot.
Yeah.
And Among Us has brought out a lot of people's like personalities, because you have to interact with other personalities, and you have to strike when you strike. It's very much like I have to bring out myself, because if I don't, I'll just be overshadowed. But I would say, if you're a streamer and you can't answer this question truthfully, you're not good. And the question is, am I streaming to entertain myself, or am I streaming to entertain other people?
Absolutely.
Now, if you can't 100% say you're doing the second part as well as the first, you're just wasting your time. You're just, because you're that's fine. If you want to just be a streamer and entertain yourself, that's fine. But if you want to be a streamer that entertains many people, and not just a handful that you're just happy to have in there, just, you know, and that's fine. If you're content with that, that's fine. You know, some people want to do something just to pass the time, and that's a perfectly valid reason to stream. I would, however, say if your goals are loftier, then you have to see it as, am I doing this to entertain myself or entertain other people? And if you're doing it to entertain other people, you have to ask yourself, if I'm other people, am I entertained by me? A lot of YouTubers have to look at their content and see, would I watch my content? Would I click on this and watch this over PewDiePie, or over, you know, if you're a gaming channel, over, would I watch this over VanossGaming, or would I watch this over, you know, meme channels like Hunter TV, where you get really good quality content, and people that are, you know, Would I though? Would I really? If I wasn't me and I clicked across my video, would I click off this shit in 10 minutes? Or when I'm fully satisfied with watching it, or I'm gonna click off it in a minute? You know, most people click off. Most people click off towards an end of video as well. Like they're just like when people are doing outros and all that, they'll click off. So, but like, when are you clicking off? Are you gonna click off at the end of the video? Or going to click off at the beginning? When are you going to click off? And if you're at the end of the video, you're going to watch another video of theirs. Are they good enough to watch more than once? So a lot of YouTubers have to go through that phase of, you know, how entertaining is my actual content? And I feel like streamers don't, because they have the pillow, they have the cushion of interacting with chat. And for a lot of people, the you know, it's, you know, and that is entertaining. You are entertaining people when you're interacting with them, and a lot of streamers do gain an audience by being that interacting streamer. But I would say, however, that is definitely used as very much a cushion, for streamers to, oh shit, the cam died.
Oh, the camera's off.
Sometimes it overheats. Just give it a minute.
Yeah, for sure. It's okay. I was going to bring up.
I would say you have to think about both. It's not all one. You either have to be a specialist in something or be an overall powerhouse.
Because I can see your points and where you're coming from with that. There is definitely, I would argue, especially coming from a background of
dog for a second
of YouTube. That's okay. Because obviously I did YouTube first as well. I can relate to the fact that when you are there and you are recording, especially if you're recording content solo, you have to bring your A game to every video, and that can be
the bare minimum, really.
Yeah, it can be difficult when you don't know the extent of your content
or the reaction
itself.
of the audience as well. You don't know what, once you edit, what people will enjoy more. And sometimes you upload something and you find people enjoyed this part that you didn't particularly enjoy, but they didn't really enjoy this part that you really did enjoy and you thought would be a banger, and people would really pop off in terms of responding to that section of the video in the comments. But everything's very much real time with streaming, so there's pros and cons to both. And so what I'm more getting at is where I feel streamers have weaknesses. That's really it.
What I was going to say was not only coming from YouTube content do I understand what you're saying, that there can be the comfort blanket of having a chat there to interact with, and for sure I can agree with that people can rest on their laurels going, hey, I have people watching me, therefore I'm creating content, because of the idea behind the fact that people are already watching you. However, I'd say from my experience of starting from zero on Twitch, that and again, you're looking at like maybe 6 months of me grinding it out, not having many people there. I'm talking like maybe like 7 to 10 people would show up, and even the first few months would be like 3. The thing is that the background I had on YouTube of being able to know that those 3 people are a bonus. That's a luxury for me to have people watching me create content that I knew would be good regardless. Having being able to watch it back in the VOD, turn it into YouTube content, all that kind of stuff. I was always thinking about the process of what am I doing this for? And would it be watchable? Like you said.
And it's easier. It's easier to evaluate it. If you're doing an 8-hour stream, how are you going to watch that back and evaluate, like, how did I react to this? Was this a moment in which I should have maybe invested more of my personality in, or did I just sit back and just zombified it? But with YouTube, you upload a 12-minute video, you watch it back, and you're like, I could have said something there, or maybe I shouldn't have said something here, and maybe I could have done this or could have done that. It's easier to evaluate and reflect. Whereas with streamers, a lot of their reflection comes from their chat and how their chat interacts with them. And like that's what I've noticed in like streams. If I'm looking at chat and something happens and I see a lot of people going lol XD and whatnot, and like, okay, what did they find funny? Why did they find that funny? You get that real
you get
time,
the live
like,
feedback.
Yeah. So it takes a lot. You have to be fairly self-aware as a streamer as well to become successful, and but also don't get lost in the void of I guess ego as well, because you have a lot of people that kind of come into your streams, and there'll be a lot of bootlickers, like
for sure.
So I think yeah, I think it's tough, and I think it's tougher in some ways to be a streamer, to be honest. I think I'd rather be VOD creator than a streamer.
It was interesting
if I was starting all over again, I'd rather be a VOD than streamer, to be honest.
It was interesting you were saying about like 8 hours being too long, because I would argue on the side of almost looking at it like it's a pub, that if the pub isn't open, it's weighing up your time efficiently. If a pub is closed, people will go to another pub. So if you aren't there based on being there long enough, when you do have an established audience, whether that's small or large, you need to have enough time so that people can get what it is that they want out of that. So somebody might show up based on your time zone to the last 10 minutes of your stream, but they might love the last 10 minutes of your stream every time that they get to show up. And I think it goes back to what you were saying about the idea of having two shorter streams of like 4-hour blocks can arguably be more effective than having just a long stream.
I don't think it's even arguable at all. I think if you can connect those two streams together well, in terms of, hey guys, I'm taking an hour break here, just like an hour break just to eat or two or whatever. I'm going to go eat, I'm going to go work out, I'm going to go shower, and then I'm going to come back on for about 4 hours.
Yeah.
But the reality is you can have a fucking CVS open up for 24 hours, and you'll have people, whittling in and out, you know what I mean? But then you've got a Chick-fil-A that's open 6 days a week, and people are exploding on Saturday because it's not open on Sunday. So it's like it's a very like even with YouTube, I've noticed it VOD wise, people that tend to upload less frequently with higher quality, find themselves higher average views on each video, rather than people that upload daily, more quantity rather than quality. What you're trying to strike as a creator, whether it's Twitch or YouTube, is you need to have something that, one, is healthy for you and sustainable, but it balances the quality and quantity. So you're streaming, if you're streaming, and like what I tied in, preparedness, being prepared for the stream. Creating streams that aren't just, I'm going to hop on in a group in Among Us and just play that. You know what I mean? Different things. There's lots of different facets and moving pieces that need to be like deliberated when you want to move on to a level that's greater than a hobby. And I think with streamers, there's much more room for people like Dr. Disrespect, people like Milton, to flourish in the scene. And I think that's kind of, I believe that's where the next kind of facet of streaming comes from. A lot of people, for example, the Minecraft SMPs, those are big because you've got this universe, you've got this world that's episodic in a way, because each time someone streams, it's a more revealing part of the narrative and story. And so that is content that's created in a very good way to accommodate streamers. Whether and I think, like, I remember hearing something from Vanos long ago when he was exploding, and he always saw his kind of like content as a story. He always wanted a big, strong start. He always wanted a big, strong ending. He always wanted a big, strong middle. And it would basically work like this. it would be like this. And so people aren't just on this high where it's like, oh, you're just not, you're not on this like extreme high all the time. You're allowed your peak entrances where you're engrossed in it. Like Dr. Disrespect does that very well with his intros. They're very much like, I want to sit through this intro to see what's after the intro. And then you've just got him, shooting the breeze, talking away with chat. And then you've got the peak of the content, and you got him shooting the breeze, peak of the content, and he ends on these cool little intro or outros and stuff.
It's like an effective piece of music. You have the ebbs and flows. You need something to make the highs really high and have the passion there. You need to have experienced the opposite, not necessarily like completely silent, but you need to have those moments where you need a gear one the music's allowed
enjoy
to
the car
breathe.
In gear 5.
The music's allowed to breathe. And I definitely agree that it's the same with content, that you need to be aware that letting your content breathe is very important. What I was going to say before, when you were saying about there not being a difference, it's okay. The 4-hour and the 8-hour blocks. The reason I was bringing up the 8-hour, rather than trying to defend it, more so give an understanding and educating people on it, was the fact that is that you have the luxury in many respects of having longer streams where you plan them out. Say you're doing a 12-hour community stream, yada yada yada.
Yeah, those are special. They would be rare.
Absolutely.
Instances.
Those rare instances can absolutely be audience engagement, but you are right that it's okay.
My webcam overheats now.
This is why you should also listen on Spotify, everybody, so that you can check out the podcast there, so that when cameras go down, this is what happens. But but yes, being able to have those moments where you do longer streams. I found myself at the beginning of the year for my 30th birthday, I did a 24-hour live stream. It was the first 24-hour live stream I've ever done. I told myself in the past that I didn't think I'd ever do a 24-hour live stream. The longest live stream I ever did was 18 hours, and I found myself running into what you were talking about. I wasn't being entertaining. I just felt like I was being a zombie, and realistically I was being counterproductive, because ultimately you want to show people your best. You want to give people that entertainment, that audience interaction when you are at your peak. And that's why you find with a lot of streamers, even though people get animated and stuff like that, I know that if you were genuinely upset or angry, for example, with your content, Nogla, is that you would not be live on stream at that point, because there's a level of professionalism that goes beyond the actual. When content becomes rage, like anger, deep-filled hatred towards what's going on, frustration, at that point, the fun aspect is gone, and the content's not there anymore. So most professional content creators will know that at that point, day's done. With the
or you can turn the frustration into something, or the rage into something that is content.
Yes, absolutely.
Like Dr. Disrespect does that as well.
Yes. When it came to my 24-hour live stream, I had 8 for the first 18 hours of the stream. I had it planned out in terms of people would be there in blocks at certain times, and that is what helped me get through the 24-hour stream. Was I planned out 2 hours of, hey, we're doing a Minecraft Olympics, which I created a few days before, so I created some content off of that, and then we had the Olympics itself. We did Among Us for a couple of hours, and I kept rotating people in to make sure that not only was it fresh for me, but fresh for the audience.
And I guess a good question for you, sorry to interrupt you, but a good question for you is, if you put that much preparedness into those streams, into every smaller stream you did, and you're consistent about it, what results would that yield over time?
Exactly.
And have you done that before?
I struggle with the if we're going based off of my content, I struggle with schedule and routine. Just being completely open and honest about it. I struggle with that based on my mental health. And I'm not using that as an excuse, but more as I accept the fact that that is why I'm not having necessarily the success that I could be having if I sort that stuff out. And I think that is a common occurrence for a lot of people where struggling with their mental health pushes them out of opportunities because, again, why should I get up and do this on this day at this time if I'm not feeling in that right place? And I guess that brings me on to which I will point out as well, which is why the podcast is helping me so much, because it's helping me not only sort out a routine, but also giving me an opportunity to create more non-live content, which is what I wanted to do this year. I wanted to move away from what I was saying to do with longer streams and more work on creating that good content that I think people would want to listen to, and trying not to be as fearful of creating that kind of content. So yeah, that's where I stand on it. But in terms of, I guess, throwing that back at you with a Mario Tennis kind of smash.
Go on. The Y button.
Yes, exactly.
Or what they call, what is it? I think it's the yellow one on the top or something. It's the one on the top is a smash. But go on, Aaron. Sorry.
Would be, how have you managed to keep in a sort of peak condition of mental health for 8 years of content in that? What is it that you tell yourself every day when you're going into creating content that you deserve to be in that position creating that content? You know what I mean?
Yeah. For me, I don't really see it as if I'm deserving or not. I actually don't. I don't see. Because I believe you have to be very careful with that kind of rabbit hole of deserving. Do I deserve it or not? I to be honest, I kind of don't. I don't think about it much, because if I believe that I deserve it, then I'm entitled to it.
Yes,
if I'm
I understand.
entitled to it, then
it wasn't the best worded question there.
No, but that's really what it's like, though. You're not wrong.
Yeah.
You're not wrong in what you said at all. You're right in what you said, because that would be the common like perception. I see. I would say, like, God has been very important in a lot of aspects of my life, and getting through like personal issues, getting through like coming to terms with weaknesses about me that are just the reality of my personality, and strengths as well, recognizing strengths too. But I would say that the greater your purpose outside of your work, the healthier your purpose will be within it. So I have a really great purpose, with my family.
Yes.
I'm a family man now. That's my greater purpose. And my faith, being Christian, believing in God, those are my greater purposes.
Yeah.
So if YouTube was gone tomorrow in the blink of an eye and it just dissolved, I got canceled. I don't know. Someone found me saying the N-word somewhere. You know what I mean? I don't know.
Yes, the N-word, Nogla.
Yes, yeah, very dangerous. You don't want to say that. You don't want to say that to the wrong person. But I'm joking. But however, if it was gone tomorrow, it's whatever. Like, whatever. What about it though? What about it? Like, I still have purposes where I have prerequisites to preserve those purposes and continue them on. So I don't care. That's the main thing. Is the the failure would get to me. You know, I mean, I don't know if I want to do this type of video, it's going to get less views. I don't know if I don't do this, it's going to get, you know what I mean, going to get bashed or whatever. Everyone goes through that. Everyone has fears, insecurities, concerns, worries, demotivational problems. I think, you know, the thing about passion, the word passion actually comes from like the passion of Christ. And the word passion means to suffer with love. So you can never have a passion if you're not willing to suffer for it. You can never love something if you're not willing to suffer for it. So if you love streaming, if you love YouTube, and you want to have a successful passion, you will not achieve that without suffering. You will not achieve that without sacrifices. You will not achieve it without possibly losing friends, losing family, losing connections that you've built up. So like there's a concept in Christianity that's like something has to die for something else to live. So, you know, if you want success, right, and you're struggling with depression, and the depression is what stops you from being, I guess, active and live your days out in a fulfilling manner. Depression tends to have people self-comfort. You know, it's one of the first things you learn as a baby is how to self-comfort. And so self-comfort is a massive, like, reactive tool to depression. So self-comfort can come in food, it can come in shows, it can come in your bed. Your bed could be your self-comfort zone. And essentially, you don't decide how long you live, because, you know, we even look with COVID and everything like that. Young people have died as well. Some people get affected when they contract it. Some people seem like doesn't affect them. It's very bizarre, very unusual. People are, you know, obviously very afraid because of the abnormalities. And, you know, if I get it, am I going to be fine? You know, am I going to be on a ventilator, etc.? And you don't know. You actually don't know. Like, you could be walking across the street one day, get ran over by a car. You don't know. And so every day you're not fulfilling what you could do that day. You're wasting your time. And for me, I've wasted enough time already. I hate wasting time. I've wasted enough time already. And I try to see the time that I spend alone for like reflection or just to sleep in. I see that as relaxing, and I see that as a purpose. To try and find everything try and find purpose in everything, instead of trying to find the purpose of everything. Just try and find purpose in everything. That's what you kind of need to do to get through daily stuff. And if you're not motivated, that's fine, because to have a passion it isn't about a feeling. Like, there's nothing to do with feelings to have a passion. You can watch a movie and you can enjoy it, and a moment will strike you down with emotion, and you'll be like, oh my gosh. But that won't make you passionate about the movie. That won't make you a fan of the movie. You'll walk out of there and you won't think about it again. But what makes you passionate about a movie, what makes you passionate about a series of movies, and it's not the feeling, it's what you you know, retain, and then you contain that within you, and you write it on your mind, you write it on your heart, and you just follow through in it, whether it feels right or not. You just do it. And that's kind of something that everybody has to live with. You live with it. This isn't something you overcome. It's something you live with, and some days you'll win and some days you lose. But there's no real point. There's no real point in thinking about if I'm going to lose tomorrow because I lost yesterday. There's no point, because there's no real value in that. There's no value in that. It's not worthwhile. And with a limited amount of time to do a limited amount of good, it's daily things that tend to be healthier than yesterday's and tomorrow's, and what should I have done yesterday, what should I do tomorrow. You're better off doing real-time active reflection and having that self-awareness and realizing, okay, you know, you mentioned, oh, I've been depressed for like X amount of years, right?
Yes.
Now, if you wanted to counteract your depression and you wanted to get to the root cause of it, it's very much how people work, is that humans are, or, you know, we're made up of lots of cells, organisms, etc., and it's a mixed bag of stuff, right?
Yeah.
This is included in your body, mind, etc., soul, spirit, whatever you believe, it's in your body and mind for sure. It doesn't matter if you're atheist or not. Body and mind is real. Your psychology behind that is real. The conscious is real. The subconscious behind that is real. And the way I see my mind is I see my mind, my memories, everything stored up as a giant filing cabinet. And each file has a date, and each date has a moment, and each moment has a feeling and a thought attached to it. And what I've learned is that if you have certain amount of emotional trauma or experiences that hurt you or damaged you, or, you know, everybody's had their first moment of depression. And if you can pinpoint that moment, break it down, understand it, accept it, and fill it with a perspective of love rather than a perspective of self-pity, you're actually able to create the mechanism that you require in the present to deal with that same form of depression. And so a lot of people, that's why you see a lot of young people very angry with the world, angry at their parents and stuff like that, because you got a lot of people in their young 20s coming in. There's always an awakening period in people's lives. And you go through, like, similar to YouTube, it can be to your benefit or your detriment in terms of the success that comes to you. So in a way, if someone has an awakening period of their life, and awakening, how I see it, as it's a revelation of truth. So if you were to sit down at night and you were to think about, okay, I did say that to him today. What made me say that year? Can I think about that? Can I talk to my family members about that? Can I explore that and see why was it? Why was that so profound that it's still with me today? And did I really go look at it and think about that? And I think a lot of people, when it comes to their, it's no fault of their own. A lot of people suffer in their childhood and carry that into their adulthood because they realize they had imperfect parents and they had an imperfect environment. But once you become a parent, you realize you're the imperfect one and you're providing an imperfect environment in which you can't provide an all-encompassing perfect environment and perfect person to your child. You'll realize that extremely quickly. And then you have a newfound appreciation or a newfound disdain towards your parents as well. I think a very important tool that people don't use in our society, and it's very obvious because you've got a culture that reflects it, a cancel culture, is forgiveness. We live in a very merciless society, very merciless in terms of the friends we make along the way. Very merciless. I've seen people on YouTube, they'd be friends with someone 1 minute, they get a lick of success, a lick of, another group, boom, they're out of this group, they're in that group because it's more successful. So baby's upset about something. Probably
for anybody on the audio listening.
Yeah. Let me close the door. 1 sec.
Yes, certainly.
I know Aaliyah's got it covered.
It's definitely really interesting.
That can range from
talk about that stuff.
That can range anything from wanting a bottle. I'm hungry, and you notice they're hungry, and you prepare the bottle, and they're getting impatient. They start crying about it. Got
to learn to self-soothe, like you said.
Well, yeah,
self-comfort.
These are said. A lot of addictions actually come from self-soothing. Most people's addictions are based. I've noticed anyway. Most addictions are based off of guilt, shame, embarrassment, and they're all a form of self-soothing and escapism. And if you can learn why you have those guilt, shame, or embarrassment, that's the start of breaking an addiction. That's how I see it. But it's the same. Everybody has some form of addiction in their life in a minute way. It's just some addictions are seen as not unhealthy to society. It might be unhealthy to you because we have a society where it's I know I'm meandering again, branching off, but it's the same kind of.
I'm letting you wander.
Same kind of. Yeah, thanks. Appreciate it. Yeah, Aaliyah does that too. She lets me wander, but I. Sorry, I even interrupted myself there. But we live in a society that's very much, we care for other people, but we don't really, because we have the duality of, we should have everybody's cares met and etc. But also at the same time, what I do doesn't affect you. I don't care. You shouldn't care what I do. If you have a problem with what I do, that's your problem, because I'm me and you're you. And so you kind of have this, you have a juxtaposition between the, it's my life, don't tell me what to do. And secondly, why aren't we doing all of these things for everybody else? You have that massive dilemma. Essentially, it's a very common dilemma, but it's extremely obvious and self-evident in the society we live in now. So you have an issue where people would have certain addictions that are palatable by society. They won't be disturbed. They won't be bothered by it. There's certain addictions, drugs, etc., very obvious addictions that are harmful overall. And people are more bothered by those addictions. And then you've got the lesser addictions, which, people aren't very much bothered by. Addicted to video games, or addicted to, I don't know, ice is a recent one I heard. And it's the degree of addiction and how much that impacts other people outside of you. So yeah, I remember I watched an anime. Animes are weird, by the way, but I watched an anime. It's a weird anime, funny anime, to be fair. And this guy's addiction was collecting women's underwear. So he'd just go out and buy your women's underwear. He'd bring it to his home, and he'd be living on his own, and he would just hang up the women's underwear in his house. And no one knows it's happening. No one's bothered by it. Who cares, right? But the guy walks. The main protagonist of the show walks into his house one day and is just like, this guy's addicted to gathering women's underwear.
Is this one of the shows that, is this one of the shows that Aaliyah endorses, or is it one of the ones where she says this anime was a very much a normal anime, but with this weird surprising moment that I didn't expect it. I forget the name of it, but it's because I know she said that you are quote unquote like baby weeb when it comes to anime and
whatever.
Stuff like
we
that.
had a bit of an argument last night about that. I don't believe it. I don't believe it. She likes this. She's a bit. We move on. I talked about that after stream. I'm joking.
Going back to something from obviously, like it's been really incredible listening to you, the way your brain works, because I think a lot of people maybe have a conception or a misconception of you, I guess, or a preconception of the fact that you think a certain way, but they never get to see it develop to this extent. I don't feel like in your content, your polished YouTube content, they don't get to see the path that your brain takes. So that's why, like, letting you talk there and like hearing where it was going, it's really, really fascinating to me. I wanted to touch on something that you brought up way earlier, which was you talked about the Carson situation, CallMeCarson, and talked about the imposter syndrome and people getting success faster than they can handle and all that. What's it been like for you as somebody that's been in the business for a long time, obviously, and have managed to find a way to formulate and cope with the success and the pressures that come with it, alongside seeing people that you've worked with or people that you've been close to in the past have scandals or other issues? Yeah, exactly. I'm not trying to pry or pull people out.
Look, there's nothing to pry. It's already all out there. What do you mean?
True.
It's already all out there.
Without mentioning names as such, but
without names being named.
Without names being named.
What are your thoughts?
Yes. Basically. What are your thoughts on said situation?
Some people, that have things in them that aren't good. They're just simply not good. And for example, the guy with the women's underwear and secretly in his house, a secret woman's underwear collector, right? That guy in the anime. He's just this one guy in a small town, right? He's this one guy in a small town. One guy found out. What happened in the anime is that he basically just helped him and all this other stuff. be a weirdo, whatever, right? Okay, so, but that's not the case. If you're successful and everyone finds out that you've got this really weird thing, or you know, just morally wrong, you know, and there, you know, you're where do you run to? Like the whole internet knows. Where do you run to? Some people are genuinely better off not becoming successful in a certain aspect, because there's things in you, and I'm sure someone's listening and they're like, if you aren't comfortable with the worst things about you being completely public, never seek to be famous. Just don't, because you don't know if they'll come out or not. You can control it as much as you want. You can control it as much as you want, like the people that we shall not name. But it's just that's how I feel about it. I feel like, you know, you might have been better off never been successful, bud.
It's so interesting.
If this is where you've ended up, you might be better off to Carson, to whoever. You've been better off.
It's really interesting to hear you talk about it. Obviously, having had my last guest on, DK, he said pretty much the exact same thing as you, in different words, in his own way, which was that time reveals all when it comes to that stuff. And it's just, it's so interesting to me to listen to really successful people in your own rights have very similar intertwining thoughts or morals in certain ways, and it's not hard to see why you are in the positions that you're in based on getting to know you like I'm getting to know you now. And I'm just very, very appreciative of the fact that you've been so open and honest about what you've talked about.
No, I appreciate you as well.
Thank you.
We've been chilling.
Yeah, I've got just a couple more.
Yeah.
That we can go for here. You talked about obviously having a contract with YouTube, and it's been around since 2005. YouTube has. How much longer do you feel it has left in the tank? And what would you do to keep YouTube relevant moving forward?
I don't see YouTube going anywhere. I think YouTube has just become another form of TV.
I agree.
I don't see it going anywhere. I don't see the point of it going anywhere. I think YouTube is very much establishment based as well, mainstream based. It's not going anywhere. And for as long as it's not going anywhere, there's going to be a lot of people that want something on there. And if it's something that is aligns with what I'm doing, then I'll be successful. But if my life has to take a different direction away from YouTube, then I'll do that, and that's it. I'm not bothered. I'm not phased.
It's a lot of people second Google, you know? They go from Google, if they can't find what they want, they go to YouTube and say, how do I do this? And
exactly. It's like you can't replace the wrench, really. It's just become another tool in the box that everybody uses, and it works the way it works. So,
for sure.
But the reason why the webcam keeps dying, it gets overheated.
Yeah, that's understandable. We have been talking for quite some time, so that the camera is not used to this level of engagement, probably.
No, I haven't been using webcam much because of it, because it's a bit sporadic.
Yeah,
it's a bit sporadic. So, I'll fix it in a second.
Okay. Here's another one.
Get the dog again.
That's okay. How many hours in your day goes into content creation in some form or another? Like when you really break it down.
I'll just talk about today. Today's a Sunday.
Okay.
Me and you have been chatting for about 2 hours and 20 minutes. We'll chat a little bit more. Later, I'm going to stream for a few hours and do some member stuff. Just play with members. And so about 6 hours today. But today was supposed to be an easy day. Sunday's supposed to be a chill day, an easy day.
Yeah.
But tomorrow, I'm gonna test out a few mods because we're playing Among Us mods tomorrow. I'm gonna test them out, see if they're working, yada yada. Set them up tomorrow. We're looking at about another 6 hours tomorrow, but so yeah, like I've editors now. I have a good team, so I have editors. But if I wasn't editing, it would be 12 hours every day of the week. 12 hours.
I was gonna say, what was the difference? Like if you go back 8 years, how many
editors? Having editors. Yep. 100%. I have editors now. I have a good team of editors. I've got a manager. I've got that helps out with the brand deals, the email side of things, all the knitting. What they call it, knit and gritty or something. What's it called?
Nitty and gritty. Yeah.
Nitty gritty.
Nitty gritty. I don't know why I put the "and" in there.
Yeah, I don't think
My brain.
I haven't said that phrase probably ever. I've probably only ever heard it. Never said it.
It is fascinating, like what your brain comes out with when you're on a podcast, and I've totally found myself. I'm trying to get better at it already because I know I've been doing it a lot recently. Where I say when I'm really nervous or didn't have, where I don't know where my brain is going at the end of the sentence, rather than pausing, I'd be like, and stuff like that. It's just one of those expressions that I think I've got comfortable using on Twitch, and
I think it's better. It's better to pause.
Yeah, I'm definitely trying to get out of the habit of it.
That was a very similar problem I had. Exactly. When I was doing Let's Plays, when I first started doing solo Let's Plays, I cut back the video and I watched it. And I was like, that's a lot of likes. I was like, that's a lot of likes. And here I'm saying like, so it's common. It's common. What else? Do you have anything else in the old sheet on the right hand eye?
I do. I have who else would you love to collab with in the future?
I've collaborated with so many people. I don't care anymore. I don't care. I really don't care.
But if there was, is there a person that you have a lot of respect for, even if they're not into streaming? If there was someone that you suddenly tomorrow could do a stream with, which person in the world would that be?
Gosh, I'm a bit of a chaotic person. A bit sporadic, a bit chaotic, etc. And for me, I have no shits attitude towards a lot of people's opinions. I'm like, if you have an opinion, that's just an opinion. I'll listen to you. I'll try and understand you, why you have that opinion. But at the end of the day, I don't have to take your opinion as fact. But I'll listen to it, and if it builds up in the right way to a fact, then I'll accept it. I would say one person that I would be complete chaos. Complete chaos. It would be hilarious, and the memes would be good. One of the most memed men in the last 4 years. It would be hilarious because I saw it happen with like Among Us and the memes when all the Democrats. I'm like, what if you could actually get like Trump in an Among Us lobby? Like, how nuts would that be? Imagine the chaos. Imagine the insanity that would ensue.
For those audio listeners, I was nodding in agreement as he explained the meme culture. So,
because that man has been memed to like an insane degree. He's probably going to be memed forever.
True.
Just like he's so heavily memed and he's so inaccessible, and it would be so impossible for him to even get in an Among Us lobby and play Among Us. Like, I would love to get like, I'd where they all stand up for like the Republicans and the Democrats, and there's like 12 of them, and they're all doing a debate. I'd love to get 9 of them and me in an Among Us lobby and just watch this shit.
That would absolutely be chaos. I can't. My brain just tried to comprehend
I would want it. I'm like, that's what I would.
I just tried to comprehend that briefly, and the idea of I don't know where you'd even start in that instance. Which is, again, fascinating now.
That's why I liked it when the Democrats did it. I was like, this is brilliant. I love this. like I'm very centrist based. I don't like to say I'm this or I'm that in terms of politics because I'm like politics change all the time, and I don't want to just follow a party when I'm changing all the time because I don't want to just change to the party. I just want to be my own person. And look, I'm not even voting, so why do I give a why should I be like so heavily invested in a party? So there's no point. And so I'm very centrist perspective on it. So I'm like when the Democrats did, I was like, that's very funny. I like that. And it brought up a lot of like meme stuff, and a lot of people liked it, non-political people as well. And I'm like, oh, this shit show.
I mean, he's done The Apprentice. If he went into streaming, maybe he'd start doing it with Twitch streamers or YouTubers, picking his favorite content out of the 10 and telling them to create one video, and we'd see where that goes.
Among Us would be next level stuff.
It would be interesting to see how he did as imposter.
Yeah. Does he just get constantly voted out?
I think that would be the problem. I think he would be voted out.
That's why it'd be funny.
Every time.
If you can think of it from like a comedic, like a lot of people, they can choose to get triggered by that idea and bothered by that idea, or you can be like, you know what? Let's just have a little bit of fun with this.
Absolutely.
Let's just put aside what I think of the man and just look at things. And that's why I like meme culture. They're able to bring in realities, but at the same time, without the doom and gloom or the screeching aspect of it, of how a lot of people have on social media. Memes are like I see memes as the healthy jester of the court. Everybody needs a jester in the court, and memes are there for everyone to sit in there. And even though they're all sitting in there in a world that's screwed up, the jester's there to
diffuse the situation. Yes.
Yeah, release a bit of tension, give a bit of relief. You know, if he's able to be memed, maybe, you know, he's not that dangerous. Like, for instance, was it China or North Korea? But they were making Winnie the Pooh memes based off the leader, and so they banned Winnie the Pooh memes.
Wow.
So it's like, you know, if Trump was a dictator, like a genuine dictator and a good dictator at that, in terms of not being good, because it's not good to be a dictator, but being proficient at being a dictator. Not good in terms of moral good, but good in terms of they're effective. Let's say an effective dictator. They would most certainly get all the memes banned, because there's been so many memes made, and they're made by everybody. Everybody's making them. People that hate them and love them make them. So for me, I'm just the guy in the middle with the popcorn having a laugh. And if I could provide more chaos for more people to be like me, be the guy with the popcorn in the middle, I would love that. That's why I get the answer I give. Like my channel was a big troll channel when it started as well. Which, if people know me and the inside of my channel, I had a series called Nogla Noise.
Yes.
And where I'd basically go in and I would mess with people of all races and all religions and all ideology.
Oh yeah, you didn't discriminate. It was
no, but I wasn't. I wouldn't be like discriminatory towards them. But
but you didn't discriminate at who you were going against. Everybody could get it.
If someone was funny to mess with, they were funny to mess with. You know what I mean? If someone was I would mainly target people with anger issues, because that's where the funny content came. People that you could rile up and get a reaction. So I get entertainment still. That's something in my personality. I get entertainment by seeing people getting riled up. And I just sit there and I like light the match, set it off, and just watch the shit show, you know?
Well,
that's why I answered Trump.
Wasn't there an Among Us lobby? I think it was Marcel posted up a video that was Ninja, Nogla, and somebody else just scream at each other for, for the entirety of the game.
Yeah, that was... Among Us has been like pure toxic shit. So, no, it's been good, but... Yeah, that's why I answered Trump, because it's the most chaotic answer I could possibly think of right now.
Fascinating. It's probably one of the most Nogla answers on a podcast that's 2.5 hours long. That's probably the most Nogla based answer that I expected there. But yeah, in all seriousness, it's been fascinating talking to you. I want to say a big thank you to you for coming on the podcast. I can't believe we had the Uno champ herself on here too, talking away. Yeah, so I hope everybody enjoys the inside scoop.
No, that was cool. I was surprised at that myself.
And yeah,
I was surprised myself.
I guess one of the last questions I'd ask is would you come back?
Yeah, but you got to give it a bit of time.
Of course. I don't mean tomorrow. No, people would be fed up of that. Got to give time for the character development, like you were saying, the ebb and the flow.
Yeah, exactly. We need more drama to happen, and then something.
Exactly.
But no. I don't expect much drama to happen in my sphere anymore. I feel, let's just say, things feel very flushed out. I would say that last year was very tough for the group. Right?
For sure.
A lot of people don't see it. A lot of people don't talk about it, but it was extremely tough.
Was there one of you specifically that was more of a voice of reason in that instance? Was there someone that
well, there's a lot. There was several instances, and there's videos out there, right?
Yes.
And they've been seen and stuff like that, and there's been a tug of wars on Twitter and all that, right? And there's been things mentioned during streams and all that stuff. We're very self-aware about all of that stuff. I'd like to think that I'm more of an ice cube in a pot of boiling water. But at the end of the day, like with the group, everybody has their own decision on what they do. What one person doesn't reflect the group as a whole.
Yes.
What one person does in secret most certainly doesn't. And there's going to be people that get along better with other people in the group rather than some others. So like I would consider like my friendship with Terrorizer to be like one of the higher ones.
Yes.
He's just one but that doesn't mean I'm not friends with people that other people in the group. It just means that I've had experiences with this person that have elevated the friendship. And so I would say it's a lot more nuanced than people think. A lot of people have like an opinions on what is right and what is wrong, but we're a very reasonable group. And we tend to find, because we're a group that I feel is fairly well grounded, very well by this stage flushed out. A lot of stuff has been flushed out.
Yeah.
Right. Because of that, I think the group is a lot more clear-headed and stronger because of it. But it was definitely very tough emotionally on a lot of people, and definitely caused a lot of anxiety for some people as well, dealing with it, because ultimately we're all just here as a group to have fun.
Yeah.
Doing what we want to love, really. And we just so happen to be involved with people that are imperfect. Have been involved with people that have been more than imperfect. Maybe they're more on the imperfect side of the things, like let's say if someone's 100% perfect and 0% perfect, that some people there's spectrums,
Yes.
No one's fully perfect though, but when we are aware of that as a group as well. But
people are human. They have their insecurities, they have their faults, their flaws, morally and ethically, I'm sure, as well, to some degree. But again, I think it links back really nicely to what you were saying before about forgiveness and being aware of the fact that you have a responsibility to yourself to conduct yourself in a way that is not only protecting you but protecting your audiences out there, and ultimately there's a line that shouldn't be crossed. And I'm really glad that you have spoken so openly about it as well.
Yeah, we have a lot of restraint as a group. Let's just say, like, you know, when Carson stuff came out about Carson, and a lot of his friends made videos on him. I've nothing against that
Mm.
because I think it was important to bring clarity to this situation
Yes.
because you know they brought clarity to the situation. However, I found it interesting, you know, that they decided to do the videos now rather than when they first found out. I
Mm.
found that interesting, number one, and then number two, I found it interesting how long it took for them to do the videos. I'm not defending Carson in the slightest at
Mm.
all. There's no point in defending it.
Yes.
But it wouldn't achieve much for me. But I do find that, you know, maybe even just for Carson himself, if a friend came out and said something and said to Carson, look, man, you know, I might have to say something publicly about this if it isn't dealt with privately.
Mm-hmm.
You know, like, you know, I'm trying to deal with this with you, me and you, not working. All right. Me and all the group, it's not working. It's
Mm.
getting resolved. I feel like I might have to go public and tell people this because you're living a double life here. You know what I mean? You're essentially living a double life. And, you know, that's the Carson situation. Now, with my group, we had no clue. We had zero
Yeah.
clue. Uh, we had zero clue. We were honestly, we were just as surprised as everybody else, and all the information that was coming out was as new to everyone else as it was to us,
Mm.
and that is literally pretty much, yeah. So we went on the same roller coaster as everyone else did.
Gosh.
So it was very much just, just yeah, it was a little shocking. It was a little shocking, and it definitely shook people and it made people think as well. You know, they made people think like, did I even see that? Was there signs? You know what I mean? It makes you think.
Mm.
So yeah, um, yeah, that was tough. That was tough. That was tough for the group. That was tough for the group. I would say for like a very negative period for the group. But thank God, I feel like I feel like you know it's in the past. I feel
Mm.
like it's in the past. What could be out there is out there,
Yes.
and you know it's now it's like, you know, you know obviously, you know, it's tough. It's tough, but it's we're we're coming out better. Like
Mm.
we're coming out better, and I work hard.
Yeah.
I work hard to have the group be you know, happy to an extent. I can't make people happy, but I can contribute to bring better group harmony. And I don't want to be a person that hurts the group. I don't want to
Mm.
be a person that hurts the group because the group has been hurt a lot by people.
Yeah.
Um, so we just we just don't vocalize it.
In that case, let's end this on a more positive note and
Yeah.
try and, if you have one piece of advice for people out there that are thinking of starting up content creation in whatever respect now,
Mm-hmm.
what's one piece of advice that you could give to motivate those people to follow their dreams, I guess?
Um, I would say always be open to learning. Always being open to learning and be humble about learning. And I'll always know when the hold or the fold, as they say as well.
Mm.
Timing is a big thing. Timing is a big thing, and yeah, just and if you don't believe you have any visual talents, you can some talents are there to be discovered. You might be talented at something, you just know you're not. You just don't know you're talented at yet. So, but you won't reach that level of discovery and fruition if you don't put in the time. So a lot of it, YouTube wise, if you want it for a hobby, have it for a hobby. Have fun, have it for a hobby. Um, but if you want to carve out something for yourself and do it for good, then it's going to take a lot more out of you than you expect, and you have to really look at yourself. The more you know yourself, the better. It really. if you feel like you don't know yourself at all, and you don't know why you are the way you are, you feel like other people know you better than you even know yourself. It means you're not doing enough like self-reflection. You think too much about what other people think. You compare yourself to other people too much, and you're never really understanding who you are in terms of your strengths and weaknesses and personality traits. So yeah, that's what I would say. And don't build up bad habits. It's
inevitable.
If something is a bad habit, it's not a habit until you do it for a very long time. But if there's something that is small and you do it and you allow it and you continue yourself to allow doing that thing, it will become a habit that eventually destroy you.
It is inevitable that bad habits will happen, but be aware of the fact that it is possible to change. Something that I've always said, because people always say like a leopard can't change its spots. I said, but that doesn't mean it can't change its attitude. So
yeah,
ultimately there are going to be people that paint you a certain way, and prove to them that you are a genuine and authentic person that you want to be. And I have absolute faith in the fact that Nogla has shown what a genuine and authentic person he is today on the podcast. Nogla, do you want to just give us a quick rundown of your socials, so where people can find you if they want to go see more?
Yeah. Usually you'll just find me if you search Nogla. It's probably the easiest way, Nogla. You'll just find me that way, no bother. And whatever you do from there, just up to you, really. up to you. But
yeah,
just to touch back, I know I'm going on a bit much. Touch back to what we said before. I know you want to conclude things. You're probably hungry. I'm hungry too.
It's not about that. It's more about making sure that I have an outro.
Yeah, true. Yes.
In terms of the links to my socials as well, it's just Giddawid on everything. I'll put it below. And then the podcast, you can find at Streamer Consciousness on Spotify, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of stuff. And then on Twitter, it's at Casterminds, which is because we couldn't fit Streamer Consciousness into a Twitch at. So Casterminds on there too. So Nogla, hit us with that point that you were going to say.
Yeah. I was just thinking about the situation, that you were speaking about, the 2019 drama and stuff like that. I'm not talking about anyone in that situation. I'm more talking about what I kind of learned from it.
Yes.
And just from myself and stuff like that, and even my own journey and realizing my own strengths and weaknesses. And like last year was a big development year for me, and the year before it was a lot of developing in a very fast, short amount of time, which was like pretty tough, but all very. I welcomed it, but it was tough. And you can welcome something, but doing something with it is another step. But what I would say when it comes to YouTube streaming, there's an issue that people have in terms of who they portray themselves as and who they put themselves out as. And if you are someone who creates content to entertain, and that's what you do, and you're good at it, you're successful at it, you're popular at it, the problem is that with every piece of success you get, you put on a piece of uniform. And the issue is that once you have that full piece of uniform on, you've become fully successful, essentially. Are you able to take that off and view yourself as a normal person, as who you are? Who are you? It doesn't matter what level of success you're at. It doesn't matter who listens to this and they're at 1 million subs, 10 million, 1 sub, doesn't matter. Who are you when you're at night on your own and you can't fall asleep? Who are you then? And what I've noticed with people that try to run away from who they are, or try to find reasons to be someone else and what they're essentially very much designed to be, because we're very designed creatures, coming from our parents and seeing how much as I grow up, I see similarities between me and my parents. It's interesting, like when you become a parent, you're observing your child and you're seeing what are the similarities between them and me. But when you grow up, you start seeing, what are the opposite way around, especially relating to your own parents. I think a lot of people live with a fake persona, and the person they're showing is a shadow of themselves that they just want. They create a shadow, and they live in the shadow because there's a light in there that comes from the uniform they're wearing, the uniform of fame. And that's their little glimmer, but they live in the shadow. So once they take off that uniform and they're going to bed and they're at night, they don't have it. They're not wearing it anymore. Who are they? Do they know who they are? Can they accept who they are? And can they accept who they are? Not in a way in which you accept the bad things to be good, but can you accept the bad, which is bad, and the good, which is good, and derive a way of living from that to improve yourself and develop? There's a very few people that I've seen that have gained success and were able to stay the person that they were before it. Very few people, very, very few people. I've noticed most success has made people worse. Of worse people, but better off. That's what I've noticed.
Yeah.
So I would say be very careful. Be very careful. Be very careful that you're never putting out there something that you're not. Not pretending. Pretending is another like self-soothing coping mechanism. You gotta pretend to be someone else. It's something I came across recently in the past few months. I talked with terrorists.
Oh, well. You're cutting out slightly because of your noise gate. If you
sorry.
A bit closer.
We good?
Yeah, that's much better.
Yeah, I had a talk with Terrorizer about it before, about how people they create another person for themselves to become, and they want it to be this shining light, but really it's just a shadow of themselves. It's a shadow of who they are, and they live in the shadow self. And the issue with the shadow self is that you're ignoring who you really are as a person, and then who you really are as a person will come out, bite you in the ass, and ruin the I guess the idol you've tried to create from yourself. And this happens with a lot of famous people. So it's cruel, but that's the reality of it. But yeah, sorry to go on a bit much there.
It's okay. It's
my advice to people.
Yeah, is be authentic, be genuine, be kind to one another.
Yeah, and to yourself,
and be kind to yourself. Absolutely,
it has to start with you before anyone else. Because if you can't do it, then if you can't do it for yourself, when you do it for other people, it will never come across as fulfilling.
Yeah,
it won't. You'll always be trying to patch a hole instead of filling it. You'll just be patching. So yeah, a lot of people have that issue with success. They have success, but they still feel empty.
Yeah.
So yeah, what you do then? That's what they think, and then they're stuck.
Well, thanks for ending it on a positive note, like I said.
Oh, very positive. Very positive. You know me. I think it's the dad in me that's like warning people. You know what I mean? Watch out.
Yeah.
Watch out.
I feel...
Careful what you wish for.
I do feel like you've just learned a lot about yourself recently, and it's really nice to hear you discuss what you've learned about yourself, because again, I've learned a lot about myself hearing you talk today as well on that stuff, and hopefully the people out there listening have learned something about themselves. And I would urge those people to write in the comments on YouTube or get in touch with us on Twitter. Let us know if of your experiences, and if there's anything that you'd want to ask
share as well,
and share, you know, for the future. So thank you so much for coming on the podcast. And
you have 2 podcasts now. You have 2 episodes in here. Part 1, part 2.
I maybe do. Maybe I should do that if that's the case. But yes, thank you so much for chatting. And yes, for anybody watching, thank you so much for listening. Have a wonderful week.
Thank you.
And I'll catch you next time. Goodbye.
Bye-bye. Hope you enjoyed.
Give us the outro, yeah?
Yeah. I know. Hope you enjoyed.
There it is.
There it is.